Hi, I'm Kevin Drinkall.
Hi, and I'm Michel Nicolai, and we welcome you to Zyxel Networks podcast.
We've been in the network industry for over 15 years, and in these podcasts we want to try and untangle the world of networking, debunk some of those myths, explain some real-world examples along the way, to help you make better choices about selecting the right tech, product, and even help you guys build faster, more reliable, scalable networks, or just to keep your kids happy at home.
Well, welcome back to another podcast. And in today's podcast, we are going to talk about the security pack and the security functions on our gateways.
Yeah, because I think it's good that we explain, let's say, what we can offer in our USG Flex H firewall. That it's more than just a firewall only, and it can do more than that.
Yeah, so I think let's start with a little bit about what is a firewall to start with, because I think there's a big definition between cybersecurity prevention or cybersecurity functionality versus what a firewall actually does, right? So I think, when you look at the firewall, let's take it down to basics, right? A firewall is pretty much in most, like even routers, right? They have a basic firewall where they can drop, block, and allow. So there's three basic functions. So one is when you receive the information, you can set a rule to say drop. So basically ignore it and just don't do anything with it. Then there's another one which is block, which sends a reply back. So this is something you probably shouldn't do, because if you do have a threat, it will reply to say that it doesn't want to accept it. And then there is the allow, which is basically allow it, right? In firewall, that's pretty much everything, right?
Yeah, maybe you can do a port number as a sub-choice. Yeah, so it is allowed, but only if you take this port to enter. Maybe we should do kind of a metaphor in this, like let's take an airport, for instance, that we do border control, and the firewall is the border control, maybe.
Yeah, basically with nobody there apart from just to say, are you a person or no, you're not a person?
Yeah, and then we allow you in, and the port number is maybe, okay, because you're wearing a blue jacket, maybe, or a jeans, and that will allow you in. But if you have a red jacket, we stop you. That is more kind of how we treat people on the border control when you're related to a firewall. Nothing more, nothing less. That's like it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think the other thing to remember is there are some also use NAT, network address translation, to be a method of prevention as well, right? Which is basically how you take the outside internet into your inside network. So obviously if there's no route there or no rule there to do that, then obviously then it never gets through as well.
Yeah, it will be denied.
Yeah, so of course they have two very basic functionalities of almost every sort of router or firewall, right? But when we talk about cybersecurity, we're talking about functions past that, about understanding multi-layer prevention, right? There is no one single way to protect security, because there are different methods of approaching or getting in and out of a network, right? So the idea is that you use cybersecurity, which is a multi-layer approach, to prevent yourself from getting attacked or having breaches or having something inside your network, that compromises your company, right? So what are they, right? And I think that's what we're going to cover. In our USG Flex H series, we have something called the Gold Pack, which includes several methods of attack. And I think best bet is let's go over some of those and just describe what each component does, so that you have an understanding of what's included and what is it, and why would you use it? What does it do?
It's something on top of your firewalling, So it brings enhancement to, let's say, to your basic, go through, this may pass, It is more in depth. So we're looking a little bit deeper than only the color of your trousers and everything. So, and therefore we have on the USG Flex H series, we have the Gold Security Pack license available that have a different type of applications that are specialized to fulfill certain functions to protect you against.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, so let's dig into some of those and understand them, right? So I would say on the top of the list, which is the sandboxing. Okay, so people probably don't even know what sandboxing is, right? So sandboxing itself is a cloud-based technology. We leverage AI and actually leverage a lot of best-in-class cybersecurity software. We bring all of that into our cloud and basically, integrate that. And what it actually does is when a file arrives or something passes through the firewall and thinks, okay, this doesn't look right, then it will offload that and take it to a secure location, okay, and, interrogate that, right? I mean, this is like, if you were saying you're in an airport, right, it would be like there's a suspicious package or bag, right? Okay, let's take it to a separate area to inspect and, before it even enters the terminal building.
Yeah, because they are specialists and they know what to look for, and then they can do the inspection on things that are unknown to them. Yeah, because most of the functions that we see later on are based on something that we already know, so that we have some kind of definition files that we receive, that we compare if it's there, yes or no, and if it's malicious or not. But if we don't have such a file, then the sandboxing can do something that all others can't do. Yeah, so this is really a very good last thing of defense that you want to have for unknown packages.
Well, I mean, basically, if it doesn't know what it is, right, like you say, then it will send it off and check, right? And this is how we do 0-day protection. When we talk about 0-day, it means this is a brand new threat never seen before, and therefore we will need to respond to it immediately. So often, like Michelle mentioned, is you would get something would come through the firewall, and you would have a book to look up, basically, like as Michelle read, and it would say, okay, I know what this is, I'm not going to allow it. As we know, threats are always evolving, or there's different variants, or there's different approaches. So sandboxing uses a technique basically to check, think, what is that? And then it sends it off to do the analysis. And what's really interesting about the sandboxing, once it's done, because it's already driven by AI, right? Once it's discovered it informs all of our other firewalls as well. So not just the single unit, but all of the firewalls across the globe are instantly notified that this is a threat. So it doesn't have to keep.
And AI is a perfect solution, because we can process very fast, so we can have a judgment from the system almost instantly. And therefore we use AI, because that's the power of AI, to have quick results. So that's why we're using that kind of technology.
So another thing that we've got in the security gold pack is that we've got this reputation filter as well, right? So this is an interesting one, because this is a bit like having a no-fly list, right, to stop people at the gate before they try to enter the airport. And the idea here is that this blocks access to malicious IP addresses, domain names, or URLs. So the web address itself, in real time. So, this prevents things like botnet infections.
Don't forget ransomware.
Ransomware is part of that whole ransomware protection process, right?
And that's why we have this, because this is a very important kind of defense mechanism that we have. And we have also in our USG Flex 8 series that you can buy the entry defense pack as a solution. But then you always get this kind of protection with your device, because this is very important that we take care of the users in the network, so that they are not attacked by a botnet or ransomware. And then people can see how things are operating, and then you might say, okay, let's have other applications running as well as we have in our gold pack.
Yeah, so it's important to also understand that where does that information come from, right? I mean, the information comes from a whole global network, or we have our own security cloud where we actually bring from other vendors as well, right? So from people, we leverage from people like Webroot, Trellix, which is the former part of McAfee, and also Gen, which is, this is a company that owns other security brands, like Norton is, for example, one of theirs, right?
Yeah, but all those vendors are listed as top 3, top 5 specialists in their particular area. So we collect and we take the knowledge of other security vendors to have the best protection available on your USG Flex H. Yeah. And therefore we are not inventing the wheel again. No, we take the best that's out there and put it on our firewall to use and to protect your customer.
So other features like malware also in the gold pack as well. So, we have
antivirus maybe is more common for people to know, but anti-malware.
Again, an AI driven protection. So that users real-time information, like I would say, to get a bit more technical, is the hash checks and the daily synchronizations via threat intelligence. So actually we also generate, I would say, a localized database for the firewall or the cybersecurity appliance. And also, if we don't know what it is, we'll offload it to the cloud as well. And this allows us to also increase the throughput of the device while applying this type of technology as well. So this is really important process, right? And the anti-malware or antivirus approach is a little bit like having these high-tech scanners, right, in the airport, where all the trained dogs for sniffing out potential threats, right? And even if they're hidden away, and this is one of the elements that we're trying to find there as well, right? And when we add that together with some of the other components, you start to build up a multi-level security approach, right? Where, like, for example, malware or, ransomware, it's not a single thing that it does, right? It once it's in your network, it has to communicate back, and at different layers, we will do the blocking or checking and see where we can see it. So if it, for some reason, bypasses one, so say someone brought it into the network, right, on its way back out to call home to block, right, these elements like the reputation filter and the anti-malware will detect that part of it and will stop it, right? So
yeah, but please remember, because a lot of people confuse this with the endpoint protection that probably your laptop or device already has, and then think, why this is needed, because I'm already protected at the endpoint. But it would be better, of course, if we could already get rid of it before it enters your network, instead of it already hits your laptop, and then your laptop needs to deal with it. And now already your firewall at the edge of the network, when it comes in, will deal with it. So it is not something that you can take out and say, because it's already protected on my endpoint. No, it's an extra defense on the edge of your network. So always keep that running on your firewall. It's an extra engine, extra protection.
So the other side of it is, which is, I would say, one that people most commonly know about, right? Which is the web filtering itself, right? So,
or content filtering. Yeah.
So this is like a category-based inspection process, right? Where you can block, filter, including DNS filtering, right? And manage, over 3,500 different types of websites and block, inappropriate content or content that you don't want. I think even you can apply policy controls for bandwidth managing on them as well, right?
Yeah, sure. And it's often used in, let's say, in schools where we want to protect our children against violence or whatever. So we can make sure that the websites that they're trying to search on are blocked and cannot be shown. But if not in education, you can filter out maybe in office use, that maybe your staff is not on social media the whole time, but has to do some other job as well. And then you can say, okay, we block the social media in the office network. To optimize the efficiency of the network, and that the network is not abused by traffic that you don't want to see there. And content filter is a nice tool to resolve this issue.
So another feature which I think is really important is the IPS, or Intrusion Prevention System. Also, it has another name, right?
IDP, Intrusion Detection Prevention. It's another name for exactly the same kind of mechanism that we use. And then we are really digging into the package. Yeah, we are really digging in if there's something that is, not what we want to have in our network.
Yeah, just like an airport where someone, is basically having security patrols, looking for anyone that might sneak through the fence, right, or trying to get through the locked doors. So this is another approach, and what he really looks for is, identifies whether, someone's trying to sneak into the network, right, using extra packets in a payload, or, so it's a bit more technical, but this is I would say, one of the crucial first touch points for security and how they prevent. And I think most more advanced security devices have this as the feature. Right?
Yeah, this is the minimum requirement that most of the firewalls have, but it, of course, is not enough. Yeah, it is one of the applications for additional security, but it only detects that particular space of malware or intrusions. And the nice thing when we have this IDP or IPS running, that we can look into the packet so that we can see what kind of applications the users are using into the network. And that can help us, again, to clean up the network and to make sure that people are not using certain kind of applications. And that tool that we also have available in our Gold Pack is the Application Patrol.
Yeah, this is very granular control over the management and how you can basically, manage applications. So this is, I would say, like the layer 7 element, right? And
then you can prioritize it or bandwidth limit it or those kind of things.
Yeah, or block the usage, or like you say, and you can create a policy, dependent on certain network criterias to apply all of these things, right? So, all of these things can be added at quite a granular level as well. So it's quite detailed approach. Of course, you can also take some kind of autopilot approach where, the firewall or the configuration is kind of set up for you. But of course, this is where you can really get into the detail of how you want to manage applications.
Yeah, and if you take this function back into our metaphor on the airport, you can compare it with, let's say, priority lanes. Yeah, so first and business class are separated and they go first. Yeah, with a higher priority. So this traffic, goes in first, and then the other traffic goes in. Yeah, so that is how you can compare it as we have it in our firewall.
So before we carry on, I wanted to also mention a little bit about some of these elements as well, like web filtering, which we kind of touched on. But one of the things I would say is that, traditional approaches of web filtering was that you would look at the header of where the device was going, or you would use SSL inspection. So, but the technical challenge around using SSL inspection means that you end up being kind of a man in the middle, right? And so you need to install a certificate. So it becomes very complicated. But then on top of that, then you needed to, you would look at the header to see where the destination and the recipient was of the basically where it's going and where it's coming from, right? But then obviously with recent updates to the TLS, which is the HTTPS type, this became more and more difficult. So we have a mixture of attempts, and one of them is using DNS, right, which averages. So not only do the components work independently, they also work with each other. So, when the content filtering or web filtering is looking at how is it going to get at the information, it uses some of the other elements to find out the DNS, the IP reputation, and then use those elements to kind of block it as well. So they work in conjunction with each other as well, right?
Yeah, and it's very important that you enable multiple engines at the same time to have the maximum protection of your network.
Yeah, because actually a basic web filtering only looks at HTTP traffic, right, which is not secure anyway. So, and then obviously you've got this domain filtering, which is like the HTTPS. Then you've got the actual DNS filtering, right, which is how, the latest TLS, right, 1.3, which allows you to really look at where it's going. And in the past, the only way to do it really was to, like I say, dig into the SSL encryption. Right?
Yeah, decrypt it and then have it as plain text and then check it and then back encrypt it again. But that takes a lot of time, of course.
Well, and resources as well. You need a lot of processing power and memory on a unit, right? Which often meant you needed a much more expensive hardware to deliver this service as well. So there are other features as well, which I think are really important we should mention, and that is the device insight, right? Which is, although not security, does allow you to apply security functions to...
Yeah, it categorizes your network peripherals in different categories. For instance, if you have Apple device or Mac devices or Windows devices, it can detect the device based on its operating system and then it puts in that category. Or it detects IoT devices or printers or different kind of peripherals that you have in a network. And then what you can do, you can build firewall policies based on these categories. So you can say that Mac users are not allowed to do this or only allowed to use this, or Windows users can do this or not this. So you can even be more precise in what do you allow in your network and what is not allowed. So that's what your device insight does. It is not really a protection, but it's helping you to making better profiles. Let's put it that way.
So, of course, when you've got all these functionalities, right, you need to bring them all together. And this is no exception in our own platform, right? So, of course, the Gold Pack includes access to Secure Reporter. And so it can be used in conjunction with Nebula. So it's kind of built into Nebula, but it is also an independent platform that can be used with on-premise, as an on-premise approach to seeing the statistics and analytics that all of those tools are actually, protecting you against, right? And I think that's quite important when you look at how do you report all of this that's going on, right? Because all these things are automating the approach in the network and trying to defend you, but how do you consolidate all that information together, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not only something that you want to know what happened yesterday, but maybe more important, what happened over time, the last couple of weeks or something. And then you can, make your firewall, let's say, more effective by seeing the report and acting on the report to make your firewall performing even better. So that some of the things that came through that maybe not really break down things, but things that you don't want in your network, that you can make a policy out of it so that next time this attack or whatever comes through, that it's already taken care of at your firewall and will not come into your network. And that all you can report back to your customer as well, and then show your customer as a reseller how well you are taking care of the customer's network, how well you're protecting it.
So also in there as well, we also have Secure Pilot, which is the AI part of the reporting tool as well, to help you really understand and build the reports and even
make a request that you want to have more detail from the reports, and then maybe showing more of what happened with this user or with this attack. And then you can zoom in what's really happened with the Secure Pilots to ask for, and then it can deliver that kind of information.
So, of course, the Gold Pack also comes with a Nebula Pro Pack functionality. So you can also take advantage of all the configuration functionality out of the cloud. So you can centralize the management of not just one firewall, but several firewalls, right? Or hundreds of firewalls if you really want to. And that also gives you access to things like the synchronization profile. These functionalities, you can basically do that across all of your devices at the same time. So when you make a change to I don't know, like a web filtering rule, right? It can reapply that to all of the firewalls at the same time, which, removes a lot of that manual process, right?
Yeah, so all the devices that you have in your organization. So because in every site in Nebula you have a firewall, you can make sure that all the firewall profiles are synced. So that if you want to change something, that you don't have to go one by one to make that single change. No, if you change one, it changes in everything. So that is very helpful and time saving for you as a reseller to maintain the security of your customer.
Also, it allows you to be much faster response-wise as well, right? So if you want to...
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Many times I came across, when I was doing deployments like this, before we had this synchronization tool, we would have to go into every single one, right? And this is one of the problems that, most commonly come across, because you have to repeat the process all over and over again, and it's time consuming, right? I think this makes it whole process very, very streamlined, right?
Probably it gives you a little bit more of insight to have an easier understanding why only a firewall is probably not enough to protect your network. It gives you some kind of basic functionality and basic protection, but the real security comes with the additional application. And yes, of course, it takes performance out of your network, but security takes time. Yeah, if you go to a stadium and people needs to be detected, it takes longer to fill the stadium than you don't have any security. So it takes some time, but that your data is safe, and it helps your people in the network to work more safely to the internet.
So I think the advantage of what we've done with the USGH series is we've leveraged out between hardware and cloud, and leveraged both of them to give optimum performance, basically, in terms of how we could deliver throughput and high-end security at the same time, right? When we talk about security, we're talking about cybersecurity now, right? Because when you combine all these together, it's no longer a firewall, right? It's actually a cybersecurity appliance. And you've taken that next level to really protect the network inside and out, right? So I think by leveraging lots of different technology partners, we really leverage and get the best of all of the different variant techniques and specialists from each segment, right? And put that all together in one cloud component, and then deliver that to you as part of that whole package for cybersecurity, right? So that's basically in a nutshell what's inside the Gold Pack, and how. We could go into more depth about how each component works, but I think that's enough for today, right? And how that works. So hopefully that's helped you understand how the cybersecurity element works versus what a firewall actually does, right? So thank you very much for all listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening again, and hopefully we see you soon at the next podcast.
Thank you very much.